Hey guys, my name is Megan and welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to show you all about my base routine. We're going to get in detail, give you all the nitty gritty and all the products that I personally love to use. And hopefully you can learn some things along the way. So let's go. My husband was cutting out my sew-in and he cut a piece of my hair and it is just... the mousse ain't making it lay down. Like, what is going on? So important to do skin prep. Skin prep is so important. If you don't use proper skincare, then it doesn't matter what product you're using, how great your application techniques are. It still will not perform the best that it could if you're not using a good skincare routine based on your particular needs. So for me, I have very dry skin, so you're gonna see me use a lot of hydrating products. The first thing that I like to do is go in with some micellar water. I use the Garnier Nutrice. This is the rose one. They have a bunch of different ones. I can't tell the difference. So I go in with this first just on a regular cotton round to make sure that I don't have any extra debris on my face. Even though I wash my face, it's still good to kind of follow up with something like this just to kind of double check, especially if you deal with pores. You want to make sure your skin is really clean. Then I go in with some type of glycolic acid or something that's just going to kind of smooth out my skin. But right now I have been loving the Elemis Dynamic Resurfacing facial pads. They smell really good. They don't burn. They're not irritating on me. I absolutely adore these pads and I'm glad that I have a few backups. Like Elemis, please keep sending it. I will happily take it. Then I go in with the serum. Listen, I told you I was serious about skincare, okay? So I do go in now with a serum. This is the Lancome Genevieve. It's a youth activating concentrate. Kind of gives like this nice bouncy texture to the skin. I do notice that my skin feels really hydrated, plump, and soft after I use it. And the last thing I do is use a face cream and an eye cream. So the face cream that I've been loving right now, it kind of bounces between the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream. That's my absolute favorite, but I'm out, and so I went and tried this one. It's the Kiehl's Ultra Facial Cream, and this is my second one, so that just goes to show that I love it and it works. And then the eye cream that I use is the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Eye Rescue. This is the only eye cream that I have found that I love that really hydrates and does what it needs to do under my eyes. Alright, so now my face is nice and prepped. I have my lips prepping right now with the City Beauty City Lips. It is a little bit of a lip plumper too, but it doesn't burn like that for real. Like, it just kind of tingles a little bit and it helps my lips not be dry, crusty, dusty. Okay, I have to color correct. If you look at my face, you see some discoloration around my mouth. You see it also like on the side a little bit, although this could be a natural contour, like we can use this to our advantage. But I definitely have just some discoloration and some dark spots from high school and dark under eye circles. I've always had them, and so color correcting for me really is important because it helps me not look ashy. I use a little bit of this right here. It is the LA Girl Pro Conceal in orange, and then I'll also mix it with my MAC Pro Longwear in NW40. I like to mix it with NW because it still has that peach undertone to it, so it's still going to kind of do what it needs to do. I didn't want something with a yellow undertone because then it would just neutralize the orange too much and kind of defeat the purpose for me. Get you one of these bad boys. You can get these palettes on Amazon. I do have some in my storefront, but it makes makeup application so much easier and less messy because you're not putting a bunch of stuff on the back of your hand. I just mix it together and feel like Bob Ross. I just cleaned all of my brushes and it makes me so happy to know that I can dive in here and get a brush and it be clean. I'm trying to find the brush I need though. I like to use a denser brush like this. It's kind of small and compact because it's going to allow me to get the most pigmentation out of the application. I just pulled a little bit off. You don't want to just dive in like that. And I lightly pat it on the areas where I have that hyperpigmentation and discoloration. When you mix in a little bit of a concealer that kind of matches your skin tone, it's not just gonna look like a stark orange on your face. You can do that if you want. I did that for years and it was fine. I just now started doing this a few months ago and I just kind of prefer it. It also adds a little bit more coverage because I'm working with 2 concealers instead of 1. But if you're a deeper skin tone, you actually can go more red. If you're a few shades lighter than me, you can use a peach. I always break out more on this side. Like, I don't know what the deal is. It just, my breakouts let me over here. Do I sleep on this side? No, I sleep on the, wait. Oh, I think I sleep on this side more. That's probably why I break out. I will say when you color correct dark under eye circles, it's also going to help really conceal them and not have them peek through even when you put on concealer. I get that question a lot on TikTok and Instagram. I'm so excited to be on this platform. Like, I've been asked so many times to get a YouTube, and we finally did it. We finally pulled the plug. And I'm so glad I'm on here. Like, I can just kick it with y'all. I don't feel like I'm on a time limit. Alright, so this is what it looks like color correcting. Already, you cannot lie and tell me that this does not make the biggest difference in the world. Okay, moving on. Next thing I like to do is underpaint. I do my contour and my highlight before my foundation. That's a whole nother video. Trust me, I will go in depth about it. So what I've been using lately is this one from NARS. It's the Laguna bronzing cream, and I use Laguna 4. Y'all look, I'm almost out. That is crazy. And I'm gonna use a couple different tools for different parts of my face. I'm extra and bougie. It's okay. I like to use just a foundation brush. I kind of like to find where I want to contour. I also like to take it straight down the back of my neck, and then I go right under my jawline. So that way I'm really creating those sharp angles, and it just adds some more dimension to my face. And then I'll also take it like all the way down my neck in the middle. And then I use a more fluffy brush to do my forehead area because I want this area to be a little bit more diffuse. And then I'm going to use it just right here. And when I put my contour here, it's going to be a good guide for my nose contour, for my eyeshadow, for my brows. Like, this little nugget of space, I utilize it so much, and I really want to make sure that I define that area because it sets the tone for so many other steps in my application process. I also like to kind of take it up against my temples, and this just kind of gives a really cool lifting effect. With the side of the brush, I like to use it for my nose contour, because I feel like I can get a nice precise line. Like, that line was real sexy. That line will work. And then I like to just kind of create a little V here. I'm going to take one of these cosmetic wedges, and I'm going to use it to dab off my lip treatment. I like to use this because if I was to use cotton, it would stick to it, and then I would have cotton all over my mouth. I also love to contour my lips. It helps create dimension throughout the entire middle of my face and not just having it stop here. Also, it gives you kind of like a natural lip liner, so even if you don't want to use a lip liner that day, you ain't got to. I don't go too high up, and I like to kind of just follow my lip shape. If you go too high up with this, it might feel like you have a mustache on. So just kind of go around your perimeter. With all of my liquids and my creams, I like to still put it on the palette. I feel like it doesn't absorb as much product because it's metal. So I'm going to mix a little bit of the Natasha Denona concealer and my Hourglass Vanish. I use Maple and Hourglass in shade P6 and the Natasha Denona. And I'm just using my Sephora number 47. I kind of wish I had like 4 more of these brushes because they work so good on so many different things. When you apply straight on this way, you just have a lot of control because where you put it is where it's going to be. You don't have to worry about, okay, keeping the dots in a certain area, anything like that. You're blending as you go, and the product is going exactly where you want it to go. So you just have a lot of control. And I like to make sure that I take the edge of the brush and bring it right up against that nose contour just to really make sure that I can get it defined. I like to put a little bit on here, like on my upper lip, just because it is a little bit of a darker area and I want to bring light to it. Also right here on my chin, I love my chin, especially when I lose weight. Like, that chin about to be cut, okay? But I like to put my highlight here as well, and then on the center of my face. And I don't like to take it too high up, because the higher I take it, the bigger my forehead is gonna look. And no. So I kind of don't go past like my arch. I kind of keep that highlight closer to the center of the face. And this is the time where I will scrape off some of that concealer, just because with this applicator it is super thin, and I can go right down the middle of my nose. And I will add a little bit on my lids too. You don't have to have an eyeshadow primer. You can use your concealer and it'll work just fine. But a lot of times with us black girls, we have discoloration on our lids. And so you want to make yourself have a blank canvas, so that way your eyeshadow looks nice and even, and it's not looking patchy, and it's able to show up well. You can use that discoloration to your advantage though, like natural smoky eye, hello. But on the days that you ain't trying to do that, just put a little concealer over your lid. Now I'll go in with 2 more concealers. It's extra. Yeah, I know, it's extra. This is the Ilia True Skin Serum Concealer, and I will just use a little bit of it to kind of blend out the edge, and it pretty much matches my skin tone. And then I will take a little bit of this One Size Turn Up the Base Butter Silk Concealer, and it's a couple shades lighter than the one I use, and I will just use a tiny bit in the center. You don't need a lot of this one at all. Flip my brush over to blend out the darker shade. I really like this Ilia concealer too, because it's not super heavy and thick, and so it just does the job that I need it to do. I'll just use a smaller brush similar to the same shape as the Sephora one, just to kind of get right up into this area. And I keep that lighter shade really close to the inner corner. Like, I'm not going to take it all the way over. I'm just going to keep it right on up in here. I absolutely love the Juvia's Place I Am Magic Radiance Foundation. Oh, it works so good. And again, I put it on my palette. It's like a whole art class. And I like to start down here and work my way up. It's so much easier to build than it is to take away. So just kind of start out with a little bit at a time. And I like to get my ears. Do not forget your ears are part of the story. Don't leave them hanging, okay? And I like to blend into my contour just really lightly. And then I'll blend away from my highlight. So I'm not really going on top, like right under my eyes. I just kind of blend out the edges. I like to hold my brush further back, so I don't really kind of go all up in here and do those tight motions. I like to hold it back just so that I can get a lighter touch. For my nose, I literally take my time and I go back and forth. Like, I needed to add a little bit more brightness here, and to blend my nose I just lightly tap on the edges, really light with whatever foundation was left on my brush until I get the blend I want. I might go back in with my contour brush and just to create a little bit more definition, and you just have to go back and forth until you feel like you have the blend that you want. Your nose is one of those parts of the face where you want it to be contoured and like do the purpose of contouring without it look like it's contouring, you know? So that takes a lot of going back and forth, jucking and jiving. If I ever want to reinforce a little bit more of my contour here, just to kind of make everything a little bit warmer, I'll use the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin. This is in the shade Non. And it's only like a shade darker than me, so it's gonna do the job perfectly of just kind of tying everything together. And you only need a tiny bit of this product. Can you see what I'm talking about? It just kind of marries all of this together. At this point, I will go in with a liquid blush. So today, I think I'm just gonna use my Holy Grail. This is a Danessa Myricks Vision Flush. This orange one right here is in Sweet Nectar. I'm gonna mix it in with the pink one. This is in Tutu. Look at that. And I'm just going back in and I'm gonna mix them together on my palette. Look at how pretty these shades are when you mix them. Ooh, a little bit at a time, just to give me a little bit of color. Oh, it just looks so pretty on the skin. This is why I love Danessa Meyer's products. Okay, so we are completely done now with the cream, so I like to go in and set. These velour puffs are absolutely perfect. You can get it off of Amazon for a pack of 12 for like $6 or something like that. It's on my storefront too. I'm gonna link my storefront because a lot of the stuff that I'm using you can get from there and make it easy for you. And I'm going in with my Makeup Forever setting powder. Sometimes 2 is a little too light on its own, so I'll just mix 2 and 3 together and kind of get a nice little mixture. I like to kind of fold it and then pick some up, but I'll always pack it on the back of my hand. All of this would have been on my face, and you don't want that when you're setting. And for this, you want to just keep patting and blending it in until all of the powder is dispersed evenly and you feel like you have a nice even surface. And if you want to pick up more, all you have to do is just pick it up from the back of your hand. I like to use a similar powder shade when I'm setting as the same color as my highlight, just to kind of keep those areas bright. If I was to use a shade that was exactly my skin tone, it would dull all of those areas down and even have me looking a little muddy, and that is just not the vibe at all. I'm also going to put some on my lids because it preps the lid for shadow, and so it's going to help also make those eyeshadows blend perfectly. Now I'm going to set the rest of my face with a translucent powder that still has a peachy undertone to it. I don't want to use a completely translucent powder because it's going to make me look really ashy, and it could even cause flashback in pictures. So this one is a peach undertone, and look how big this velour puff is. This velour puff is so freaking big, and I'm going to pat it a good amount off because I don't really want to be able to tell where I'm putting the powder. So I'm even going to rub it together in my velour puff and get it really deep in there. So when I'm applying it, you can't even see it coming off on my face. You just see it doing its job. This is when I like to go in with bronzer. This is the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Bronzer in the shade Deep. I love it because it just has such a warm undertone to it. Like it's gonna get the job done. And I just place this everywhere where I put my contour at the beginning, just to kind of reinforce all of that depth. And you can just see how light my pressure is on my brush. I definitely switched to a different brush when I'm doing my nose. You can see I'm really gonna work it into that socket where I put that contour before, and really even into my brows. It just ties everything together. And then you can just go back in with your velour puff and lightly pat out that bronzer on the nose so it doesn't look too harsh. And I love to bake because it allows me to have precision and really bring out like certain features. I love to bake. And I'm just going in with that same velour puff that I used to set with at the beginning. In any area where I really want to accentuate, that's where I'm going to put the baking powder. I like to even put it on the corner of my lips because it helps lift a little bit too. I'm going to go in with this Sephora Micro Smooth Baking Powder. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of that just to kind of dust away the bake under here. I don't leave that on long. Like I'll leave it on, give it a couple minutes, and then I'll go in and quickly kind of pat it off like I'm doing because I don't want that white streak on my face. If you know, you know. Okay, so around this time is when I go ahead and apply my eyes and my lips and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then come back and show you the finished product and wrap it up. I went ahead and dusted away my bake, put on some lip liner, and now I'm going to spray my face. I love using this one right here. It's the Morphe Jumbo Continuous Setting Mist. I like it really mainly because of the spray. It comes out like an aerosol. Like I can keep my eyes open. And this just helps because we use so many powders. This is what's really going to help not have it be so powdery. I like to take this Ilia powder and I use just a little bit. What's it called? It's the Fade Into You Soft Focus Finishing Powder. After that spray has kind of dried down, I go back in with a little bit of that powder just to kind of put it here, the very focused place where I'm putting this powder. Just to kind of smooth it out again, because sometimes when you spray it brings out a little bit of texture. And so I like to just put a little bit here. Anywhere where I notice a little bit of texture is where I will put it. And then I lightly just kind of blend it in. And then I'll lightly just kind of press and flick the extra away using a really light hand because we don't want to disrupt what it just did. All right, and this is the finished look. I definitely hope you liked it. It's fun, it's full glam, okay? And I will see you next week.